Recording. Hi, this is Coach Shonnie Lavender here with you today talking about a subject that's familiar to most, if not all, parents, and that is, or those are, timeouts. And specifically, when I say timeout, I'm talking about that tool that many families still use when their children are behaving in ways that the parents don't find appropriate. So I'm talking about that having the child sit on the naughty chair, or it maybe something less overtly shaming than that. Just saying taking a time out or you need to go in your room. That idea of having your child sit in a separated space and place in response to, or in reaction really, to their having behaved in a way that as a parent you are not on board with. So just so we clarify, what does she mean? No, I'm not talking about a sports timeout. I'm talking about those kind of timeouts that I just described. Now, those of you who know my conscious parenting work know that certainly I don't condone any types of physical force with our children or physical violence, spankings, sometimes euphemistically called swatting, things like that. No, I definitely don't believe in that. And I don't believe in timeouts either. And I'm going to use some of this video to tell you why. More importantly, though, or I don't know, more importantly, I think if you're in that place, though, of why use them some and, maybe you want some info to know why they're not good choices. But I think for many people, the information sometimes is less important than the idea of, well, then what do I do instead? Shonnie, don't take this tool away from me because it's all I have and I don't know what else to do. And I want you to have other things to do because, yeah, that's all of us at times. We are using and we're falling back on those things that either A, we experienced during our own childhood, which often are not the best because they're very outdated now based on what we know about human development, communication, relationships, attachment, things like that. Also, though, we sometimes listen to or read parenting advice, right? So we hear these things or we see maybe a friend of ours uses it or something like that. And so we're like, oh, it seems to work for them. So I know we're all often grasping for what can I do that's effective. So I want to support you in that. So I'm going to talk about some alternatives that you can use that are both effective and also not harmful. So that's what I'm going to do today. So that's our journey. So let's talk a little bit about and briefly about, you can do your own research on this. Laura Markham for AHA Parenting has a great page that's got some more information about some of the research about why timeouts are harmful and things like that. So you can go look at those. So if you want to do some more of your own research. So I'm going to adjust my video there a little bit. But I'm going to talk about 3 things that timeouts actually do when we use them with our children. So number 1, they punish them. And by that, I mean they inflict pain on our children. So now, is it a different kind of pain than spanking? Yes, it's emotional pain. Emotional pain is not a better form of pain than physical pain. It's a different form of pain. So please don't delude yourself and think, well, maybe they feel bad for a little bit and that's okay because we all feel bad sometimes. No, that's your way of justifying something that's not a good choice. So it inflicts pain and it punishes children. And specifically, one of the things that is so damaging about timeouts is one of our most fundamental needs as human beings is attachment, and especially as children is attachment. Because think about it, if you are an infant, who is feeding you? You're not feeding yourself. No, you're not feeding yourself. Who is, changing your diaper or helping you go to the bathroom? You're not doing that all by yourself. So your physical well-being and your ultimate survival is based on or needs other people, dependent on others for you to survive. So when we're attached, that's how we survive, when we have people who care about us and want us to thrive. And so timeouts, what they do is they are isolating that children. And so we are forcing separation on our children. And so we are provoking a, I'm losing the word. We're provoking a response where there's an alarm of, oh my gosh, separation. And that is a very deep, instinctually set in survival mechanism that we have. So that is very unsettling to children. So we're saying, you go over in that chair, even if you're literally in the same room, there's still a forced separation. So you have abandoned them to that place that they are going. And I'm not judging you for it. Again, it's something that all of us have in us because it's part of how we were raised. So it's not a judgment. I'm simply wanting you to understand how it works and what it's doing. So you're forcing them to be separate from you. So that provokes an alarm response in their neurological system that says, oh my gosh, I'm in danger. So you can see that's not healthy. You don't want to provoke that alarm response because there's enough separation in life anyway, whether it's going to daycare or going to school, or your parents are divorced and you live in two different homes. So there's enough separation that already provokes that in our children. We don't want to be adding more. You don't need more of that. That's not going to be a good thing for you. A related piece is that when that abandonment fear comes up, excuse me, it erodes our connection with our children. So part of, those of you who've taken my cooperative home course, you know this, one of the reasons that children cooperate with us when we say, hey, it's time to put on your shoes, or it's time to brush your teeth, or please write this thank you note to grandma, whatever it is you're inviting them into partnership with you on, or asking them to follow your direction. The strong foundation of that is connection. So they follow us because they're connected to us, not because we have power over them. And so that idea of, okay, we want to have this connection. Well, when you forcibly separate them, guess where your connection went? Down the drain. So you are impairing your ability to have a relationship in which your child is going to be more amenable to working with you. So I don't want that. I certainly don't want to damage that cooperative instinct. So don't force them to be separate from you. The third thing that timeouts do is that they leave an immature child. And when I say immature, I'm talking about developmentally immature, to solve a problem by themselves, okay? And they're not capable of doing it. That's part of why they got into the problem in the first place, is because they didn't have the skills to behave in a way that worked better for them and the other people involved. So in a way, it's just stupid. Again, no judgment. It's just like, that's not effective. It's like telling somebody, hey, go make your own sandwich, and you stick them in a room with no food and no tools to make a sandwich. They're not going to be able to do it. So it's not a good use of that resource of the timeout. So that's what they do. They do more, but that's some of what they do. Let me talk about why I think, and I haven't done a scientific study on this, this is from my observation, from my own experience when I go to that place of wanting to, like, oh, you need to go somewhere, do something to my daughter. I have this in me as well. So why are we generally wanting to use timeouts? We have some goals in mind. Some of them are going to be conscious, some of them are not going to be conscious. So one thing I believe we're wanting to do is we're wanting to provide a physical and emotional space so that the misbehavior stops. So if you've got two siblings who are fighting each other, physically fighting, sometimes there's that idea of, okay, this one I'm sending over to the stair to sit in the place that I have them sit, because I want to stop this fighting from going on. So I'm physically separating them. Okay, so that's one of the reasons we want to have that space, because part of us sort of knows instinctually, like, yeah, when it's getting rough and tumble, and not just physical, but emotions are high, that space is a good tool. Okay, so there is something about timeouts that, we have some ideas like, oh, there's something about it that could work, and I'm going to tell you how you can shift it and use what does work about it. Secondly, we often are wanting our child to think about their actions. Now, sometimes I think this is more in a shame-based place. Again, within many of us, we have some of those punishing instincts, whether it's simply repeating what happened to us, or we have that faulty logic of, well, if they feel bad enough, then they'll change. No, that's not the way it works really, because usually that bad feeling turns inward and there becomes a deep self-criticism and even self-loathing if it's done enough. But there is that part of us that's like, I recognize that I want my child to be mindful and think and learn and, use your brain, kid, right? So there's sort of that underlying, we want them to think about their actions. Third, we want the child to calm down, and we may want to calm ourselves down too. Often, again, we use timeouts in reaction. So we're upset, we're seeing something we don't like going on, and so it's this, go to timeout, stop that, And so there is, again, sort of this innate sense of like, I think we need some breathing room here, we need some space. So we're wanting that calming period for our children and us. Fourth, we're wanting to change our child's behavior. So when something is going on that we see and we say, not what I want to see, we're wanting, as a goal, we're like, we want to change that behavior. So those are some of the goals that we have. Talked about why or what timeouts actually do that doesn't work. So now I want to share with you, how can you accomplish those same four, goals? Those are pretty noble goals, and they're potentially effective and useful for your child in the long run and the short run. How can you accomplish those four goals without bringing along those added in negative effects of timeouts? So that's where I'm going to go to next. So the first thing, that first goal that we talked about, was wanting to provide that physical and emotional space so that misbehavior, air quotes, right, misbehavior can stop. So what I want to suggest, instead of a timeout, you've probably heard of time ins, so you can think about it that way. I think of it as a reconnection rest period. And I say that because part of what's happening when misbehavior is going on is that often there are big emotions in our child that are going on. And when big emotions come up, often what's happening in the child's brain is their prefrontal cortex, which in a young child is already, let's just say it's probably like two fingers. It's very early in its development stage. So it's already sort of tenuous. And now they've got big emotions, or they have other stress of life, because guess what? There's stress in life, right? So now, boop, there goes their reasoning, their self-control, their empathy, a lot of the things that would help them behave in an appropriate way disappear. They don't have access to it. And so that's what's going on in them. So think of them as like inside, they've got all this stress. It's almost, I don't know, the vision that just came to me right now is like, think of fireworks going off inside of you. Could be very pretty to watch, but it's not going to be very fun, right? You're going to have these booms and you're going to have the brightness. And so it's very unsettling. So your child does want to settle. And so they are craving that. And so rather than, again, separating them, which is actually going to make their stress level go up and going to exacerbate the issue, you want to help them reconnect and rest. And I say reconnect, that's to themselves, that's to you. So again, separation of a timeout breaks the connection even further. You come with your child and say, you know what, and this, you don't have to say this out loud, this is saying to yourself, I recognize that they are needing a neurologic reset. They are discombobulated, they are dysregulated. And so when you come with them in a calm, loving way, that's going to be your best option for providing that physical, emotional space for the misbehavior to stop. Okay, so that's just absolutely doesn't mean it's always easy for us, because when we're feeling upset, again, often we're like, I don't want to snuggle with this kid. I'm mad at them. Yeah, I get it. I'm human. I just had some moments last night with my daughter. It was like 9:40 and we're at 9:30 and she's like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, I'm tired, you know? And so again, it's not always easy. And yet that's what you want to do. So bring yourself with that child. You can physically remove yourselves, if this physical space is where the, thing is happening, yeah, maybe you sit in a chair on the other side of the room, but you're not banishing your child there. You're going there with them. Okay. And that is going to, again, bring the stress level down, which is that's going to help their brain start to come back online. So it's bringing the stress level down. Also, when you are there and when you stay calm and when you can communicate empathy, acceptance, doesn't mean you like their behavior, but you're accepting, hey, it's what happened. It's reality. And give them affection and warmth. One of the things you're going to do that is so important is you're going to provide an antidote to those times where when they misbehave, they're going to end up being shamed and made wrong for their choices, and sometimes not choices, just what they actually have done, because that's going to happen. Not everybody's going to get this out in the quote real world. Not everybody's going to always be so compassionate, so they're going to have many, hopefully not too many, but they'll probably have plenty of experiences where they were shamed and made wrong and felt bad about themselves because of how somebody else reacted to what they did. And that sucks. We've all been there, right? You can think of those times like when somebody did something and the way you took it was, oh, I'm bad. I'm a really bad person. That hurts. It's some of my favorite part of Brene Brown's work. And so it's like, we don't want that. So when you are in that loving place of accepting and understanding, yeah, maybe they punched their sibling. I don't like that either. And it's like, it's already happened. So beating them up for it, metaphorically, it isn't going to do any good. It's only going to damage your child's esteem and self-worth. So be with your child in a reconnection rest. So you can have that space, but they can also get what they're actually needing to come back online, so to speak. The point I want to make about this, and I'm going to get to it a little bit more in a minute, the thing that you want to avoid in this reconnection rest time, you want to avoid teaching. Okay, this is not the time to teach. Your job, we're settling. It's almost like, think of you're landing a hot air balloon. You're not packing it up in the truck and moving it yet because it's not on the ground. So land the baby first. That's your number one thing. Like, let's settle, let's get back into a safe place. Okay. So number two was we wanted our child to think about their actions. So for this, what I want to suggest is that you support release of emotions for your child's standpoint in a safe way. And this you want to think of, and I have another video on this, so if you didn't see this one, look it up. You want to help your child experience the 4 S's: the experience of being safe, being soothed, being seen, and feeling secure. So a quick example that I want to give, this was not related to misbehavior so much. My daughter, I think I shared this in another video, is such a good example for me. I was making muffins and I put nuts in them. And all of a sudden, she was sitting across from me watching me. She started screaming and she was crying and she was so upset that I put nuts in it because she has a good friend who has a nut allergy and she wanted to be able to share the muffins with a friend. I didn't know that. I didn't think about that, so she was really, really upset. So fortunately, at that moment, I was able to remember things that I know and put them into practice. And I was able to just let her scream for a minute. It's like, whoo. So, and I just stood across from her and looked at her, with as much empathy and tenderheartedness as I could. And like, I get it. And I apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. I was like, my bad, my mistake, I'm sorry. And then I said, could I hold you? But I did that probably after about 30 seconds of her yelling, screaming, crying. So giving that chance to vent some of those emotions, which may have been all about the muffins in this case, may not have been. So same thing, if your child is engaged in a behavior that they've just, pulled the dog's tail or the cat's tail, and you're not wanting them to do that, maybe that was just testing and seeing what happens when you pull a cat or dog's tail. That kids do that, of course. It also may have been, maybe something just happened, or they just were remembering something from earlier in their day that felt hurtful to them, or that they had a sense of powerlessness about. And so they were like, not consciously, but they're like, I'm going to get some of my power back. I'm going to yank this tail. Not out of a mean-spirited place, just like, yeah, I want to feel more powerful again, which is something we all crave. So give them that opportunity to do some venting, because kids need it. You and I have tools like therapy, coaches, exercise, journaling, meditation, tapping, all kinds of other things, right? Talking to friends. A 4-year-old doesn't have that many tools. So you want to be a support for them to have that expression that they need. We all need to be able to express our emotions, because if not, they stay stuck in us, or they come out in ways that aren't as effective later on. So the other specific thing you can do during this time is acknowledge your child's experience. I am very often saying things to my daughter like, it's hard to be 7, huh? Or, I'll acknowledge some part of what was happening. It's really not always fun when mom and dad are making most of the decisions. So you can acknowledge something about your child's reality. It's hard sometimes having a little brother who needs a lot of mom's attention. Or it's hard that mom and dad don't live together. Whatever the thing is, you can acknowledge it. It's like, holy heck, that's huge for kids to have their experience validated. That's big. So support that release of emotions, and there's lots of different ways you can do that. The third thing I talked about that we wanted from timeouts was we want our child to calm down, or we want ourselves to calm down. So this goes back to the first thing I talked about, the reconnection rest period. So this is that way of us settling back, knowing it's all going to be okay. Boy, that was big kerfuffle, but it's all going to be okay. It's about our children having that sense of, okay, I'm here. Mom's helping me. Dad's helping me. I'm starting to settle. I'm starting to feel safe again. I feel like, I'm coming back to myself. So the second part about that, though, that I want to emphasize is for us adults. I'm working with a new client, and one of the things that is coming up for her is the way she languages things, and this is not at all uncommon, is often about the way it's languaged paints a picture that makes it easy for her to then get into battles with her kids, because she talks in a way about them getting sassy, or them not being polite, or them not doing whatever. And so it's in a way that, in that framing that she's putting around the behavior that's happening, she is predisposing herself to then have a negative reaction. So if we say, for example, my child's being a clingy, whiny baby. Well, that's, right? I mean, we can empathize, right, with each other, because we're like, yeah, I know about that. But that idea, then we're like, oh, they're such a clingy, whiny baby. Oh, I'm so over it. That doesn't make it easy for us to come forward from a compassionate place with our child. If we say, boy, my child is really not feeling very comfortable on her own right now, and she doesn't feel very steady if mom's not right near her side, or if somebody's not doing something for her, she's not seeming very confident in her own skills. Totally different feeling, at least for me. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds like somebody who I can support, versus somebody I'm like, I just could use a break from them. It's not to say that we don't want breaks and all that. It's simply the frame you put around the situation is going to predispose you either to respond with compassion or to react in a more harsh way. And go for this way of reconnecting and having a rest period, or going for this way of sending your child to a timeout. So a couple of specific pieces of advice or suggestions I have on this is, depending on where you physically are when your child is in their behavior that you're not accepting, is maybe you take a couple of slow breaths as you slowly step back from your child. It's like a slow motion. You're not, oh, I got to get away from them, but you're like, okay, I'm going to give myself a little distance. And then do the same thing in reverse. Then maybe it's, I'm walking back towards them. So you are doing things physiologically to calm yourself. You're taking those deep breaths, which says to your brain, it's okay, nobody's going to die. It's going to be all right. There's no huge threat here. And you're giving yourself physical space, like, okay, I can take a minute. And then you're continuing to breathe and relax, and then you're coming back. And then I'd say get down at your child's eye level, because you want to be there. I shared a video that I thought was lovely. It was beautiful. It was from one of the princes in England. Don't know my royals, but it's a sweet video about how he and his wife often get down at their children's level to engage with them. And so, yeah, get down there, be with them, don't tower above them. You want to be eye to eye. That's that sense of safety too. It's like, hey, let's look at each other. Hey, I know you, babe. I get it's hard right now. So get down at their level. And then the other thing I suggest is say some kind of mantra to yourself to remember what it's like to be a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old. It's dang hard. Not all the time. Sometimes, I wish I was 3 or 6 or 12, right? And yet there is a lot about it that's really hard. So find that place of remembering, oh yeah, this kid, even though they just did something I really don't like, it's not easy. It's not easy being them. And they're doing the best they can. So some kind of mantra for you that whatever words help you to go, yeah, mama's frustrated and it's hard being them. And I totally get that. Okay, so the fourth and final thing is we want to change our child's behaviors, right? So we're saying, oh, they just hit somebody, or they said something in a way that I don't want them to, or they talked in a certain way about people that I don't like. So we're wanting them to learn. Yay, yes, we want to help our child develop skills. Learning happens when our brain is open to learning. So our limbic brain, which is our mammal brain, that's where our emotions and our connection are. There are two things, so I guess they are there. Our reptile brain, brainstem, that's about survival, and that's about being safe. Those two brains, the limbic and the reptile brain, not so good for learning. I mean, they learn certain things, but not the kind of learning of, what do I do instead of hitting my sister? I use words. Okay, that learning is up here in the prefrontal cortex. So when people are upset, which again is a big part of the misbehavior, not a good time for learning. Wasting your time, wasting your child's time, and generally, again, just exacerbating their upset. So one of my things to clients and parents is, number one discipline mistake that I see parents make is putting the teaching too soon, putting it before the child is in the space to actually absorb the learning and be ready for it. So save that learning for a calmer time. Now, that might be in 2 minutes. Maybe this situation will be something where you can talk about it a little bit in 2 minutes. It might be 20 minutes. It all depends. So you get to learn and use your awareness and what you know about your child and what you know about you and your family to know, yeah, like when can we talk about this that's gonna come off better. So really save that teaching. Sitting them in a timeout chair does not teach them anything useful. It teaches them things, but they're not useful things in terms of health and well-being. So in terms of them growing skills and having more tools to deal with the things in life where we tend to misbehave, yeah, you want to help them with that. And they want your help. They don't want it right now. They want it in a few minutes or in a bunch of few minutes. Okay. So save those things for later. All right. Let me pop over to Facebook again. Oh. Thanks. Thanks for saying it's so great. I love it. And Kate, thanks for saying hi. Thanks, Martha. Yeah, being soothed and seen. So those are really important things. And we know it, again, instinctually, like when we're in those places of upset. Yeah, we want somebody to help us calm down, not in the calm down. That, again, that never has worked. Hi, Jennifer. That doesn't work. And yet we do want, especially when we're feeling dysregulated and discombobulated ourselves, yeah, we recognize that, you know what, I would like someone to help create that safe space for me. I want somebody to say it energetically, even, it's okay, I'm here with you. We'll get through this. So we know that our children need that just from what we need too when we're in those upset places. So again, offer those things, provide that, and remember that timeouts, again, even though they may be better, let me actually record this, hold on. Pooh. So if you use timeouts, I'm going to repeat that. If you use timeouts, nothing to shame you. We all, again, do things that don't always work. Go and watch that part of the video where I talk about why they actually don't work in accomplishing the goals that we are hoping they accomplish. And they come with a lot of negative side effects that are going to make your job as a parent harder, are going to negatively affect your child's self-worth and self-esteem, and affect your connection in a negative way. So I don't want that for you. I don't want that for your children. So be willing to try these things on that I talked about. Yes, we have some noble goals behind the ideas or noble goals behind using timeouts. But timeouts are really just a different iteration of spankings. They aren't effective and they are harmful at the same time. So I hope this video will be useful to you. Again, there's a great link also that Laura Markham has for AHA Parenting. Let me see if I can find it, see what it says. What's Wrong with Timeouts is the title of it. And again, that's on ahaparenting.com. So it's, especially if you're a visual person and not so much auditory for the video, go there. She's saying, I think, almost all the same things I said, maybe some different things and maybe not some of the things, but it's a good resource there as well. So well, that's what I have to say. Please, as always, feel free to comment or give questions about, well, here's my challenge. I've tried that, or I don't know how, or everybody else in my family does timeouts. Whatever it is, I do my best. And I'm glad to support you as much as I can, because I really want us all to move away from this. We're moving away a lot from spanking. Yay! And I want to support that. Let's leave that in the past, and now let's also leave timeouts, because they again don't work and they have a lot of negative side effects. So if you want to have more conversations like this or listen to me talk, I guess you can find me here on Facebook most Thursdays at about this time. I also have a YouTube channel where I publish these videos after the fact, so you can become a subscriber there and get these videos in your email inbox. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, Shonnie Lavender Parent Coaching. I do posts every day of the week. And sometimes more often. I also have a wonderful Facebook group. It's 3,500 parents, mostly moms from around the world, who are striving to parent in a conscious, loving way. That's called the Conscious Mom Circle. So I'd love to have you there. And I will say, I'm a little plant a little seed here that I've got a very exciting program that I love. I've done it before, and some of you may have done it. It's called my Powerful, Peaceful Mama Challenge. And I'm going to start running that again very soon. And so if you have been looking for ways to really feel powerful and to feel like a strong, confident leader of your family, and to really know as a mom, yeah, what do I stand for? Not what does society tell me I'm supposed to stand for? What am I supposed to do? But like, what am I about? If you've been craving that, and or if you've been having that sense of, I really could use some more tools for becoming more peaceful because I have a lot of rage in me, or a lot of anger, or a lot of resentment, or I'm finding myself yelling, or I'm shaming my kids, or I'm behaving in ways myself that do not feel peaceful, and I want to feel more peaceful. If any of that speaks to you, I would love to have you participate. It's a 5-day challenge. It's got short, fun videos and printable materials for you to work through, because it's about taking the principles that I'm going to be sharing and integrating them into your life. Because I'm all about, I don't want to just stuff knowledge down your throat. There's plenty out there. That's not what I'm about. I'm about changing the world by supporting families to parent and relate in more peaceful, loving ways. So, and that's including with ourselves. So, just keep your eyes open for that. I'll be doing some videos about that. And I'll also be having some stuff online. You may even see an ad from me about it. So would love to have you participate in the Powerful Peaceful Mama Challenge, which is going to be starting real soon. My name is Shonnie Lavender. I'm the Conscious Moms Coach, and I do thank you so much for spending this time with me today as we've talked about why timeouts don't work and what are some alternatives you can use to accomplish some important goals that you have as a parent. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.